All right, all right. What's up, everybody? Good to be back after the holiday break. I hope everybody else had a good one. Mine was a little bit on the exhausting side, but man, it was good. It was good. But I do miss doing the streams, of course. But here we are. Um, yeah, we have quite a bit of updates actually. Okay. Some fab, some not. So little update. We did mention before we went that we were going to Disney World with the fam. That was a success. Had a good time. All is good. And one cool thing uh, that is actually hilarious is so I got to start with a little bit of a backstory here. Okay, and this is about the internet discussion. If those of you have not seen it, I've mentioned a couple times during the stream, but when I first started streaming, believe it or not, I started streaming on my cell phone's hotspot. Okay, I kid you not, literally on my phone's hotspot. You might ask why? And it's because I live like out there. Okay, when I mean out there in the sticks, I mean you ever driven so far down a road that you just start hearing a banjo play? Like that's keep going a little further. Okay. I had an Amish person stop and tell me, like, live a little. Like it's bad. Okay. Like I live out there. Okay. So like internet options, non-existent. So we used our phone. That's how we started the fab streaming situation, right? And then it was I'm telling you, y'all, it was a struggle. Okay, you got 100 gigs a month. That was the limit. There were sometimes I would cancel the stream because I didn't have the data. That's how much of a struggle it was for like the first year. Okay, and like I mean, somebody mentioned cows in chat. Like literally, if you were to take like a 1 mile radius around my house, there I guarantee there's more cows than there are people. Guarantee it. Or your money back. Okay. And so it was a bit of a struggle. Okay. But we kind of middle of last year, we upgraded to, Starlink. That started to be a thing. I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a shot. And it was good. It was good. Don't get me wrong. But now, chat, we got fiber. We got fiber in the hills of Alabama. Okay. I don't know why. Whoever made the business decision to run fiber to like four people, man, that was dumb. I think it had to do with something with like a government subsidy or something. But boy, chat, let me tell you, my ping used to look like a zip code. Okay, now it looks like a young person's age. Okay, we're doing it. I didn't know that everybody else in the world was living this way. I had no idea. Okay, I mean, I can upload the future now. I used to stream at 1500 bit rate. Okay, now we're at 8,000. Okay, like we're doing it. We're doing it live. Okay, I just had to share that news because like I'm just excited. Let me tell you how petty I am. Yesterday, I started going through my Steam library and just downloading games because I could. Just because I could, man. I just wanted to see that shit just fly. I just wanted to see it go. I mean, unbelievable. I had no idea you guys were living like this. I didn't know it was normal. Holy shit. Um in the actual shadow realm, and I can't get it 5 minutes outside the biggest city in my province. I'm telling you, I don't know how it happened. I don't know why it happened, but I got this little letter in the mail saying we offer fiber in your area now. And I was like, I thought it was a scam. I'm gonna be honest. I'm like, who the fuck would run fiber out here? But it's hooked up, it's installed. We good. I You put that in chat as a joke. I literally did exactly that. The exact game. I downloaded Baldur's Gate 3 and deleted it, downloaded it again. I kid you not. Oh, it's actually hilarious. Okay, anyway. That was just a little side story that I had to share with everybody. I had to get that out there. I mean, we leveled up, guys. Okay, we did it. We did it. Um, so yeah, all is good. I'm looking down at the drop frames, 0. I haven't seen 0 drop frames since Nam. Okay, like that's how long it's been since I've seen not a dropped frame. Okay, unbelievable is all I'm gonna say. So moving on to why everybody's actually here. Let's talk some fab. Okay, like we're 2 weeks into RTN season. Just a little update on how that went for me. The first one we brought KO. Not really sure why, but it was a choice. And that's a lot of you saw exactly how it went. Just to catch up the people who didn't. There was a game against a Gravy player. Shout out to Justin, really good player. And there came a point in the game. I was a little bit behind in the game, and I look at my hand, and it was blue 6, Beast Within, double bellow. I'm like, chat. Okay. If I was a bitch, I would pitch Blood Rush Bellow. Okay? That's what I would do. But I'm not. Okay? So what did I do? I pitched the blue because that's what blues are for, right? And we're just going to flip over the Beast Within and we are just going to go. Okay? That's not what happened. Okay? That is not at all what happened. Okay? We flipped over the other Blood Rush Bellow and we immediately lost the game. Okay? That is what happened. The best part about that RTN is actually, believe it or not, I swear to God, the exact same scenario happened again the last round. Okay? Except this time, chat, it hit. Okay? We hit the Beast Within. I'm telling you, the exact same hand. Okay? It hit the Beast Within. We look at the other bellow. We're like, all right, we draw. We get a card. We get 2 more cards. What do we draw, chat? We draw another Beast Within. We play the second Blood Rush Bellow. And then we hit the second Beast Within. Okay, so... And then we just evaporate our opponent, okay? Well, I think we threw a Raging Stampede for like... A Reckless Stampede for like... I don't know. It was like 16 or some shit. It was bananas, okay? And... Yeah, what I did on that turn was like illegal in 3 states at least. But at the same time, like... That goes to show that like everything in life statistically is 50-50, okay? No matter how you cut the math, okay? Either that happens or it doesn't. Okay, that's just how it works, okay? So yeah, it was the funny part is the deck was so bad that like when those situations happened, I had to take the risky play. That's what they won't tell you, okay? That's what they won't tell you. But anyway, it was good. Had a good time. We came up short in that one. Then we played a second RTN, and it was the Pleiades deck that's starting to go around. The Fatigue Pleiades deck that teammate Damien made, and the deck's pretty good. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It was cruising. We make top 8, and then we block with no hero stands alone, which I now know I should have probably just sided it out for literally any other card. Against Syndra, my thought process was I could like use it for a Chain Ender and get like really good value for like a Lava Burst or something like that. Instead, I blocked for 0, and that was really bad. And it forced me to like jam my armor early, and I just got whittled away. Was kind of what ended up happening. So that was super unfortunate. We died in the first round of top 8. But yeah, deck's really good, and you should try it out. I know they have a Metafy going. Check that out. And yeah, the deck can kind of carry. If you know how to block, you know what the other decks are doing, it's actually pretty damn good. Is it the most interactive gameplay in the world? Of course it's not. It's probably some of the worst, to be honest with you. But like, if that's your thing, I respect it. Okay, let me get caught up in chat real quick. What up, Mr. Blaze? Good to see you. Please tell me I should play Victor. Bro, I'm still crying about how I talked shit about people playing Victor during that podcast for like an hour straight, not knowing you were bringing Victor to the Pro Tour. That shit had me crying when we found out at the end. It just had me crying. It's too good. Oh, tier list Tom. I'm not Nathan, but you should play Victor. I live in the middle of nowhere. Yep. You took a heck of a risk. I mean, you just had to in that spot, I think. I really do. Bro thought he was Eugene. Turned out I was not. Blood Rush missing because the other rush was in hand feels like, yeah, it was tough. It was tough. Honestly, I think you didn't risk it if you would. I mean, that's true. But I think it's kind of interesting regarding KO. Like, if I was playing a better deck, would I have been behind enough to where like taking the risky play was correct? Like, I know mathematically taking the 50-50 in a losing position is the correct move, right? Because if I play the safe move, I'm probably dead anyway, or I have a lower chance of winning. So I think what's more interesting about the dynamic is how did I get to the losing position? And why is the favorable play now to take the 50-50, right? I think that's the better question. But are we getting a tier list? I mean, it wasn't on the docket to do one. However, it's only been mentioned in the chat 14 times and we've only been going for like 10 minutes. So I cannot confirm or deny that there will be a tier list. The people need a tier list. Florian, best deck in format. We got to talk about some Earth, okay? That is something we're going to have to talk about. That's more or less how I lost my top 8 game versus a KO. Yep. Can't wait to beat chess this weekend. Let's see it. At least tell me where Prism is right now. Well, good news, Kevin. We thought KO was going to show up, and to be honest, from what I've observed, it's like decently represented, but it's not to the point to where like what we were worried about when RTN season first started. It's interesting because I think what interrupted his rise was Michael Jasker posting his go again slop Florian list. That's actually pretty good. But that's also like an easy deck to kind of pilot that has kind of like some blocking and aggressive angles. And I wonder if the easy to play aggressive deck kind of maybe the meta share was kind of like divided between multiple decks in that situation where it's normally just one like Aurora or Syndra or something like that. So kind of interesting dynamic that kind of happened there. Pretty interesting. I've been preaching the Plow Under ban for months. Oh man. I don't know. Ban Plow Under? They just reprinted it. What up? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing as well. Good to see you, Andy. To add to here, I was gonna play KO and swap to the floor. That's a smart decision. Okay. Speaking from experience, that is a well-educated decision. So let's go ahead and dig into kind of like what we're looking at. We're gonna walk like week 1 to week 2, and then we're gonna look at some other statistics and stuff like that. Just kind of like understand what's kind of happening. Okay. First thing that I really want to point out that's very, very important is the number of wins here. Okay. Just looking at the top number of wins, 13, top number of wins, 19. And you see how we have a lot of double-digit numbers and we have literally just 1 here. Now, if you were to do the math, 13 divided by 0.17 should land around 75-ish road to nationals, give or take. Could be wrong off the dome, but about 75 or so um, RTNs in week one. Uh, am I an idiot or is there like a total somewhere? Nope. And then here, if you would take 19 divided by 0.14, you're looking in the ballpark of 137. So you have almost 2 times the number of, RTNs in week two compared to week one. Does that have a massive impact? Not really. What is the bigger impact is kind of everybody was rolling dice here. I think week one was bring your favorite deck, bring what you've played for the longest, and then once you get an idea of what the fuck's actually going on, then you kind of bring what you think is best. And I think that's what happened here. So, and one thing that kind of confirms this is if you just look, see how quickly it gets to the very small amount of wins, right? Like halfway, we just go boom, boom, boom. All these guys are just about the same, right? Whereas here, we go almost all the way around, and then it starts breaking up, right? So what we saw was a massive consolidation into the top heroes from week one to week two. Does it have anything to do with the number of RTNs? Probably not. I think literally just people didn't know what the fuck was going on in week one. But now we kind of have an idea. And so, as far as the meta results, like what's actually happening, I would say that the week two data is much more relevant than the week one. Uh, and also, one thing to consider that we were factoring in before with ProQuest is you can win and keep playing. Okay, that's one thing that we had in the back of our mind for ProQuest season that we have to kind of throw away because that's not the case for RTN season. So, with that being said, we can no longer use the excuse that, oh, all the good gravy players won and now they're gone, right? Like, that's not a valid data point or argument or whatever you want to call it. Okay. And so that's kind of the idea. Now, the biggest change is obviously the Earth Heroes just completely taking over. And then Mario kind of coming in second. And then we kind of see a little bit of a fall off in Kasai and Gravy. And we can kind of look at why maybe that is. And I think it actually gets pretty interesting. If you look at a lot of these heroes, if you were to ask me what the actual best deck in format is, I think that into this field, the correct answer is actually Acilio. I think Acilio is if you knew that this was the field, your only bad matchup is probably KO. KO and maybe Mario, depending, but you beat up on these, beat up on Gravy, beat up on Kasai, right? Like you dumpster a lot of these heroes. You have a really good win percentage into a lot of these decks. So that's from a power perspective. The problem is you got to be really good at the deck. It's very hard to play, and your opponent has to not run hate into you. I'm very curious of like at what point I think we have to see at the beginning of the meta. I predicted that Acilio would be held back by hate. I don't see it though. I mean, everybody's running like a Bell or so, maybe two, whatever a lot of decks are doing that, but there's not a lot of decks that really want to / can. Like Gravy's running them, KO can't do it, and any like fatigue decks probably doing a copy or so, whatever the case may be. But overall, there's not a whole lot of like hate. And then also, Weakest Link also can just easily fit into KO, but not a lot of other decks. And then also throwing a 2 for 6 against Cecilio really isn't moving the stick at all, or it's not really manipulating the game state. It's just delaying you dying one turn is all it's really doing. So you really need KO. It changes, right? Because if it's got a might on it, it's coming for 7. Well, that's a whole different ball game, right? The fact that they can't just use 2 cards to block, which is on average how many cards they have in their hand that does block. 7, 8 power, like it starts to change, right? Really quickly. So I would say, and then flesh bag is obviously really good. So KO can be a little dicey for Acilio, but everybody else is pretty solid for Acilio. So obviously the talk of the town right now is definitely Florian, right? That's kind of on everybody's map. The question is, the one thing that I like about Florian and what I'm actually expecting this next week, I'm actually expecting a little bit of a fall off from Florian. Not bad. He's just going to win a little bit less. And my theory and my basis for that is not that he's bad, not anything like that, but Florian kind of has a little bit of an identity crisis right now where you have like the extreme go again package to counter the gravies, or you have the 12 to 15 D reacts or whatever business going on to like beat up on the Marios and outlast the KOs and all of these things. So you have those different options. It's very hard to fit all of that in one list. It ultimately comes down to about 6 or so cards where you got to choose the go again or you got to choose the D react, right? Or more equipment pieces like Dread Scythe and things like that. So there's some give and take there of about 6 cards or so. With that being said, right now, when Florian becomes the target, I don't think the Florian players are really going to know how to utilize those six cards, right? Whether to make them the defensive cards, whether to make them the offensive cards, whatever it may be. However, once the Florian players get a good idea of how they're going to be targeted now that they are a target, I think the Florian players will then adapt and decide which one is the better route. Maybe it's go again because it has more equity in the mirror. Maybe it's also puts a lot more pressure on the verdants. And also if gravy creeps up, like there's a lot of different things, right? That will kind of factor into this decision. But the main thing that I wanted to convey is that I think Florian will have a little bit of an off week. Nothing bad. He's going to stay up there, but just a little bit. And it's just because he doesn't know which direction to go. But once he finds that lane, I think he's going to do really well. We'll see how long that takes. Could take 1 week, could take 2, whatever the case may be. Maybe calling Columbus is the exact information we need to find that lane. That's another possibility. So that's just a thing to consider because Florian's on the map. Everybody knows it. Everybody's planning for it, whatever that counter plan may or may not look like. So just one thing to kind of factor in your analysis. Mario is just the same shit as always, okay? He's just a good, solid deck that can just juice you out of nowhere because you block 3 on 15 on accident or you T-talk somebody. I mean, it's just the same shit, right? Nothing's changed. It's solid. Mario is the exact reason why half the warrior attack reactions are dog shit is because the second you make them really, really good, this shit happens. In case you ever wondered why they silo the warrior attack reactions, well, there's your sign because they don't want to create this exact situation. So just a FYI there. Also, Verdance is worth talking about. Obviously, she's doing really, really well. And it's interesting because obviously with my initial tier list for the format, I thought she was still really, really good. I had her at the top, very top of A, maybe even S. I'm not sure. She was up there. And she's still really good. She has that game plan against a lot of decks. She's super consistent. Does she have to get online via offense? Yeah, but Cadaverous Tilling is a house, okay? Even the blue one is like super solid. So I don't think it was a massive hit. It obviously mattered a little bit, but it wasn't like huge. So I think that's going to kind of play out relatively the same. I don't think there's going to be an absolute ton amount of changes in regards to like what meta share she's going to kind of gobble up or maintain. Another deck that I want to talk about that just, if I'm being honest, just really underperformed to expectation, and that's Dio. Dio was really hyped at the beginning of the season, rightfully so. I'm not saying anybody was like wrong or bad for for saying that she was really, really good, because she is. Um, but I mean, only winning what? I mean, she's down there by Slippy and Dory. That's not good. We're at Dio. 3. 2% of RTNs. That's bad, right? And then week 1, it was a little bit more than that. She won 6. So a lot better in week 1. But once again, this was the undefined meta, right? But now that we know, oh shit, Florian's here, that's a lot harder a matchup. Not as bad as it used to be with Rootbound gone, but if people are just replacing it with fucking Sigil, then it is not great, right? So there's a lot of those to factor in. The Dio, I just think in general, Dio does not want to see the Earth matchup in general. And of course, you're going to do really well into Gravy and things like that. So Dio is still really strong, but just the environment has not proven to be right for her at this current moment in time. And then we also have a bunch of decks that are kind of poking their head out. We have the Pleiades deck that's kind of trying to fatigue everybody. It does things really, really well. It has a niche strategy and divergence. You can you basically run Ripple away for Florian and some other interactions, and you completely dumpster Mario. You actually can fatigue KO. I swear to God, I've literally done it. And when I say fatigue KO, I mean fatigue a 71 offensive card KO deck. Absolutely bananas that a deck. That's always been an idea that it's just impossible, right? If they don't waste any cards on like reckless swings and dog shit like that, and they just have all damage, all gas in their deck, that you can't fatigue a KO. The cards are too big. The mites produce too much value. The bellow spikes and all of these things. I'm telling you, it can do it. I don't know what else to say. Gravy matchup is shit. Is what it is. Kasai is the buy. Like it. And then Casilio, I think, is a bad matchup personally, but it is what it is. And then you just dumpster Prism, right? So like a lot of those matchups in the top decks, you have a lot of game into. So I think we're going to see some representation from this Pleiades deck. Is it going to rule the format? No. But I do think that there is a niche place for that deck in this meta. And we'll see like how much of it's willing to absorb. The closest deck that I can kind of give you an example of is that Life Gain Oldham deck that kind of ruled, unfortunately, back in the day, about 2 years ago or so. That's probably the closest thing I've ever seen, and it's just completely degenerate, to be honest. But it's good. It's good. So I'm interested to see how the meta kind of warps from that and how the tech cards change and things like that. So very interested to see. But really, I really expect more from Acilio, to be honest. I think him bumping up is not a coincidence coming from here to here. I think he'll continue to go up. Of course, he's capped by just the general number of players that are willing to play him or can play him. But I really think that Acilio is going to just keep moving up. That really is an expectation. But ultimately, we'll see. We'll see. So that's week 1 and week 2. Now, we also had a couple calling results. We had a Florian win and we had teammate Andrew win a battle hardened on Acilio. Let's see that's all you need to know, right? And yeah, I mean, as far as the meta going into Columbus, right? I think the focal point is going to be the Earth heroes. Do you want to, if you can't beat them, join them kind of situation? That's ultimately what it's ultimately what it's becoming. And I'm interested in seeing how it kind of evolves from that point, because there's an interesting topic for discussion, right? Hang on, hang on. Time out. Somebody said I was right in chat. Hang on, let's dig into this. I hate to admit it, but you were right about Fang being good. Holy shit. Holy shit. Me? Right? No. No shot. No shot. But if you look at the top decks, he's good into it. I'm Oracle of Fab, bro. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. No, but seriously, Fang is also a really good deck, right? You beat up on Gravy. You're good into Earth, right? Because you have that perfect amount of like aggression, and you still get to hit if they want to keep any cards and do anything productive. Of course, it can brick. That is true. Of course, that is something that can happen. But Fang is a really good deck. Really, the only thing that's actively kind of holding you back is Scour. That is kind of the one thing that's really just holding you back. But if you can dodge Scour, I think Fang is in a great spot, a fantastic spot. I lost to Honkage on Fang in the finals of my RT, and I'm telling you, if you want the most accurate tier list in the business, you know where to go. You know where to go. Who would have predicted Fang, bro? Ain't no way. Dude's been living in the slums for months. Okay? And we got now. The ultimate question is this going to be is Calling Columbus the tournament where he actually turns up? Because that's what we are waiting for. You know, I kid about me being right and stuff like that, but we are still waiting for that good performance. We need that top 8. We need the finals run, whatever the case it may be, to actually confirm and lock in that Fang is good. One thing that I think is also interesting is how it's going to change. So if let's say hypothetically there's an increase in Fang, right? Um, then you basically have you have a situation where it's going to incentivize a lot more Verdants to show up with Scour, right? And that gets really dicey really quickly. So I wonder what happens if Fang does get on the map after a big win. I'm curious if he does have a time in the sun, if that does happen, how long it lasts. Very curious on that. Fang can be built without Pledge, Wizard, Prism, and Dio are hard, but I mean, we saw Dio literally collapse, right? And I don't think Prism's fantastic. She's not as bad as we were dooming before, right? When we thought KO was going to run the meta. So she's not as bad as we thought there, but I still don't think it's a favorable position to be in. Even something like the Florian matchup is supposed to be really, really good, and it's just not. Okay, we kind of saw it Hong Kong Nats and stuff like, and we saw a bunch of different games where these Florian players are just finding a way to close it out, whether it be the split damage, whether it be whatever the case, Midas, tech cards, different things. I mean, it's not as crazy of a matchup as it should be on paper. So just something to consider. Still on the RKO train. RKO is like just bad Earth, right? Like, don't get me wrong. He's a good deck. He does like really good numbers, but like Earth has like cheesy cards in its toolkit, right? And RKO has a fair toolkit. No plows, no fellings, no scour. You don't have a whole bunch of tech in your blues. You got still victory. That's cool and all, but like it's not like it's no mental block. It's no scour. Like these blues are doing shit, right? So once again, RKO is really good. RKO's run's not done. Once the Earth decks actually rotate, I think RKO will actually take the position that I think he's meant to take, right? Is that good numbers, kind of like a taller version of dual wielding warrior, kind of like that type of vibe. So I just think the Earth decks do it better. That's my opinion on the RKO. But it is what it is. It is. Arachne meta is good for Fang. I tell you what. As a Vinset main, ban Scour. I wouldn't mind it. I think it does lead to some not great interactions because it does kind of it does kind of lead to some rough situations just out of nowhere at no real cost. But I guess we have to. I guess we got to pull it up. Fab blazing tier list. I guess. Man, I didn't want to do it, but I guess we got to. I guess we got to do it. All right, we got it pulled up. We're doing it live. Okay. This one's going to be much quicker. We're just throwing shit in, right? Also, side note, Syndra is actually pretty decent. Okay. Like, I thought she was going to be just dog shit. Okay. But actually pretty decent. Okay. Actually pretty decent. So, kind of interesting to see there. Ain't no way, bro. Taylor DM me a Poly Market. Will Nathan do a tier list tonight? Spread, bro, is a 59%er, bro. Oh, they're cashing out, bro. They're cashing out. That is crazy work, bro. That is crazy. We got him. Earth is leaving. That is true. They're both got a lot of. That is so fucking funny, bro. The Poly Market, no shot. I saw it after I pulled up the tier list too. If I saw it before, I would have manipulated it. If I'm being honest, I would have just held out. Yeah, we're gonna be chart guys. We're gonna knock it out real quick. Kind of where we think things are gonna kind of lie. We're just gonna put all the dog shit in. Really, just D and F tier is the same. Just don't play the shit, okay? Just don't do it, okay? This motherfucker banned as shit. Okay. You're probably a C. Don't play, but you're like, respectable. I guess if I just take them from the top, it scrolls down for me. You know? Me being an expert, I should know this. But it is what it is. Any other like just dog shit we shouldn't talk about? Deuces. Tough Nut. No. I respect Tough Nut though. Okay, we can do something like that. Yeah, the rest are worth talking about. I guess this is the same old story. Like, he's okay, but like, if people know what the fuck you're doing, he's not that great. Through 31 at a life, I feel like committing war crimes. I mean, Bald is actually quite good into some metas. I mean, yeah, she's solid, but like, if KO spikes, then she gets a lot better, right? But we just got done talking about how KO kind of like is a little bit underrepresented. Going to Montreal end of February. Will my boy Florian be alive? It's gonna be close. I'm gonna be honest. Let's go ahead and talk. So Slippy, I saw some players in the calling play it. I just don't understand the angle here. Not that it's a bad deck, but I think just Mario just kind of does it better. I think the only advantage of playing Slippy over Mario right now is mainly for the gravy matchup. I think Slippy has a much better gravy matchup. But other than that, or in any matchup where you really need the on hits, so maybe Dio, gravy, things like that. And if Syndra was to pop back up, I think Slippy does a little bit better into him. The problem is those decks are tending away, not into the meta, right? So obviously Slippy's going to kind of suffer from that. We know we have our big decks up top with And I'm not just going to copy the RTN results, but I truly believe this to be the case. Um, I do think that Gravy is starting to. I still think Gravy is up there, right? Like Jacob and some other people are probably going to bring it or whatever the case may be, and they're going to do fantastic with it, of course. But with that being said, um, Gravy is in that situation where, I mean, just look at the go again dot Florian deck, right? Like it's insane how much of the go again. Now every deck can't do that, right? You can't just put a bunch of scar for scars in and call it a day, right? That's not how it works. But there is way more sideboard space in the game right now due to tech not really being effective into Acilio, Kano being gone. I just put a band hero over all of these. That's hilarious. But you know, the fact that I think the newest evolution of Flesh and Blood is going to be switchboards. I think every deck's goal, every good deck, is going to have the goal of having some type of switchboard. Okay. What do I mean? Florian, you have a bunch of go agains, D reacts, kind of like the Dash, original Dash, you know, where you had like your D reacts and more items and then a normal boost deck, right? You want to be able to basically pivot your game plan, not entirely, because a lot of classes and heroes don't have that toolkit to support that. But the more that you can do that, the way you get so many points just by being able to do that. Like just instantly you get a bunch of points just by being able to do that. Fang's another good example. Like you could run a red line Fang list, red line with a couple blues or whatever the case may be, and throw some D-reacts in the side. Even have a couple in the main board, but have some extra for like the Mario matchup or whatever the case. Like there's so many decks that just have that ability. And it's really a common theme across a lot of the top decks right now. Like Verdance is an example. You have the combo package on the side. You have Florian with the go again and the D reacts. You have KO really does, I'm being honest, KO don't really need a sideboard. He just does the thing and sometimes it works. But you have played as just a bunch of tech cards. Prism has the aura plan or the aggro plan. Things like that are really what's going to make these decks kind of climb to the top. So yeah, let Huntsman be A tier. Is Huntsman gonna rule after Earth? I don't know. One, that's way too far down the line. We'll have a whole nother set, so maybe things change. Maybe he gets better cards, whatever the case may be. Um, it's interesting because this here is a complete joke in Sage. So maybe there's a possibility that he gets absolutely juiced in Sage or in Compendium for the purpose of Sage, and that ultimately crosses into CC. That'd be kind of dope, but I don't know. Right now, it's not looking fantastic to say the least. But I will put him at a respectable B for sure. And to be honest, I kind of see RKO at a low A, high B, depending on where. Probably high B, to be honest with you. Dio's gonna go toward the bottom of A for sure. Syndra's better than we thought. She's an upper B. Kasai's hanging in there, but man, I don't know. This hero is just not converting. Just really not converting. We've already talked about KO doing the tier list. I think Acilio is nuts. I really think that this is the deck to play. And honestly, what if it looks like this? What if that's what the top looks like? And then we drop with Mario, Gravy, Fang, KO, probably better into these than Dio. Pleiades, I'm actually gonna give it. I know this is crazy, but I'm telling you the deck's good. I don't know what to say. Puffin's still a meme. I know people were talking about it, but get the fuck out of here. Is Fi better than Syndra? Probably. Into the Earth Heroes, at least, like chat mentioned. But I still don't understand kind of what your purpose is. I still believe in Ira. I'm an Ira believer. Prism, uh, if you're Eugene, of course, this is S tier, easy. And then for Rhinar, it's I don't know if I can agree with Acilio being better than Gravy. It's interesting though, because I mean, it depends on how. So making a tier list is very difficult if you actually like trying to make it good, because you have to balance, because everybody looks at the results and then compares the tier list, right? Like that's what we're trying to forecast the performance of these heroes. And with decks like Acilio, where there's such a small amount of the player base that's really good at it, it's hard to like, because those players could just have an off day, right? Or they could have a series of bad draws. And then if that happens a couple times and the hero's just gone out of top 32, right? It's entirely possible. So is it better into Earth just because of the consistency of things? Yeah. Um, that and you get a lot more threat density with Ember Blade and stuff like that. Actually, I take that back. Everbloom hits Phoenix. Buys dog shit, bro. I take that back. You can literally Everbloom their Phoenix Flame. Everbloom says a graveyard, not your graveyard, in case you didn't know. Or at least that's how I remember it saying. I could be wrong. I've misread cards before. Rhinar with Earth showing up, I think Rhinar is a little bit better. Is he good enough? I don't know, but I think he's up there. I think he's really respectable. I think Acilio has potential to be the best deck in the format for sure, but the problem is when it's good, it's very good, but when it's bad. Yeah, but I guess that's where you have to weigh. You obviously don't rank every deck by like it's the best that it can be, right? Like you can't do that. But the way that I like to approach it is you basically, by bringing a hero, you automatically get X amount of equity, right? So let's say that look at your performance at a tournament as a grade average, right? From 0 to 100, right? 100 you won. 0 you didn't win a single game, right? If you bring a solid deck, right? Just like one of these A tier decks, like you don't have to be phenomenal to go 50-50, right? Or something like that. Like very average player can get there, as long as things don't go horribly wrong. Now it happens. It happens to really good players and they don't even go 50-50, right? But it's entirely, but Acilio, I think you get so much equity just by bringing the deck. Now, the high and the low are much higher and much lower, right? So we'll use the example of, let's say, bringing a Dio starts you at like 60%, right? And, or we'll say 50, right? And it can go up to like, 80 down to 20 or 30, right? Whereas Acilio probably starts at 65 just from the baseline power level, and it can easily jump to 100, but go all the way down to probably like 10. Like, I mean, it's just, that's what I think, my opinion. Let me get caught up in chat. How much respect should you give decks like Acilio Dio? Well, see, that's the hard hitting question, because mathematically nobody should respect Kano. Like that's in the AB argument, right? If there's going to be a deck that is going to be 3% of the meta, which Cecilia will be definitely more than that, but I'm using Caitlyn as an example. There's no way you dedicate 2 to 3 sideboard slots for that matchup. Now, if there's other utility, like theoretically, there should be a mathematical answer to that question. You should say, okay, it's this much representation. It increases my matchup in that deck by this against that deck this much percentage, and you should be able to come up with like what actual edge you're gaining by adding those cards to your deck. And then you compare other cards that could slide into that slot, like more D reacts, whatever the case may be. So I take it you've tested all of these. Definitely not, Damien. Definitely not. I have zero respect for Acilio. That matchup is just bad for me. It's just bad for me. Oh man, that's too good. And for Jarl, I don't see it. I don't see the Jarl angle. I might be hating, but so everybody in chat, talk to me about Victor. I've heard people talk about it, but it makes no fucking sense to me. I wouldn't want to play Victor into this. I wouldn't want to play Victor into this. I wouldn't want to play it into this. Sure, it might be good into this. Don't want to play it into this. It's probably bad into this. Like, Victor is just not it. Not it. So I'm gonna give Victor a big no. A big no for me, dog. I play Gravy. No amount of bells is gonna fix that matchup. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I thought there was gonna be way more tech for Acilio when he first showed up, but man, people just aren't teching for it. It's just not happening. Nathan isn't a believer in Ice Jesus. Holy cow. Yes, exactly. If I count value of hand while playing as Acilio as implied value, most of the time the numbers are smaller. One off hand is usually enough to pivot a game, however, when the stars align. I mean, and that's another thing. How many of these decks are shortening your timeline to do that? Ask yourself that. Maybe that's the question that needs to be answered, right? Like, the only person putting you on a clock out of all of these top heroes are 2 decks. Mario and Dio. All of these other Fang has a little bit of a slower start. He can get you on that clock quick, but like in KO. Okay, so 3 of these decks actually give you a clock of like, okay, you need to find your piece in like 4 turns. Everybody else is just sitting there and saying like, all right, let me know when you get it. Like, you just let me know. So it's interesting. I'll give you the skinny, Nathan. I disrespect those decks and pray. And mathematically, that might be correct. But if you want to skip the math part, that's cool too. That's cool too. I only speak from a consistency into the yeah, for sure, for sure. I'd rather have more stuff for all of these dumb fatigue decks. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why Acilio's there, right? When Fang leans to count to 3, it's painful. That's hilarious. Marlon, I'm gonna keep it a buck. Let's see. Bat, ooh, probably decent here actually. Probably okay because you rip the card that's important. Maybe, possibly. You get dumpstered here. Pleiades is gonna shit on you, by the way. She can block with half her deck. More than half, to be honest with you. Gravy's not great. I don't know this one, Mario versus Marlon, but theoretically it should be close. Fang, you can't rip the reactions unless they're red. A lot of the harp, I think Fang's fine because he can run a lot of D-reacts to kind of support and weather the storm. And you're not really blocking, so he gets online almost not free, but at a low opportunity cost. And you're gonna dick on KO with Marlon. I think Marlon's actually not that bad. Not amazing, but like, I respect it. I wouldn't hate if I saw Taylor on it. I'll put it that way. Fan Remembrance. You know what? Now we're getting somewhere. Slop Florian is relatively flavored, but what about D-React Slop Florian? What about that one? I'm telling you, when a Pleiades ripples your gold, bro, oh my God. It's like this one, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I don't know. Top of B is about right. All right, settled. Easy. Kevin, you still here? You still here? Let me know. I need your help on this one. All right, let's walk it down. Last update I got was this is slightly unfavored for Prism because of the evolution of like when to use Storm Striders and several other things, that this matchup is actually kind of a little Verdant's favored, maybe 50-50. I have no fucking clue about Acilio into Prism. This one we've already talked about how it's not as good as it should be. So these are close to 50-50s. Here you're good into it, right? And then here, that's another one. Like you should just free roll a Gravy, but that's just not the case anymore. I don't think it's as convincing as it should be. Pleiades is math matchup, not a disrupt matchup. If you look at the Prism matchups into the current meta, I would put her in B or high C. I don't know if it's that bad. I think she's respectable. Just not. I wouldn't bring her. I'll put it that way. Prism versus Celia 50-50. Okay. I mean, I think she's okay. She's probably the bottom of A, upper B. That I don't think she's anywhere near C. I don't think it's that bad. Like I'm never putting her below here. That'd be my bottom. That would be my top. I could be talked into moving Gravy. So in my last tier list, I did have Gravy as the number one deck. However, there's a couple of things that are arising that make me nervous to place Gravy this high. And I'll explain. Once again, I'm not just copying the RTN data. There's ideas behind this. Fang is dog shit matchup for Gravy. Acilio, bad matchup, right? You no longer get the free matchup with Florian with the go against slop, right? And then Verdance, is also not the best. Sure, you're fine into Mario, and sure you're fine into KO, and you're not even good into D. So you see how a lot of these decks are just not amazing. Can you skill gap the ever loving shit out of people? Yes, this is still the deck to do that. But I do think that we are going to see a little bit of a drop in performance from Gravy, in my opinion. And Mario's just staying the same. Mario's just a bunch of Majestics in a pile. What can I say? So that's kind of like what we're looking at. That's my initial thoughts. There could be some outliers, of course, as always. We could see a surprise performance from Syndra. Could do really well. Honestly, I still think Syndra's a little bit low. I'd put her as high as there. Maybe even swap her and Prism. I'm telling you, I played against this in top 8, and it never missed a beat. Now, it could have just been that game. It's entirely possible, but it still did the thing relatively easy. Did they have to play less Oath of Loyalties and maybe... But the fealty generation was solid. It was a solid amount of fealty generation. Didn't factor in with my initial ranking is the fact that the one cost 4, Devotion, is that what the 4 go again, make a fealty? The fealty generation from that card increases the consistency of Art of Dragon Blood a lot more, which in turn allows you to fuel the resource cost of those cards. So it's kind of a cycle. where it's actually pretty interesting that it like, it's like a cycle that kind of solves its own problem. It's pretty interesting. So I think she's still a lot better than we may think originally. But I'm still a Fang believer from the beginning, and I still think that he's got it. And maybe we see it pop up as always. But the last tier list, I think God, did I put him in S tier? I don't know. Maybe it was crazy. But he was definitely top of A in the last tier list, and I think he'll stay. Maybe pick on some Earth heroes, Florian to be exact, and we'll see. We'll see. Would Betsy surprise us again? No shot. No shot. Not gonna happen. Nope. So there we go. We did it. I was pressured into making a tier list, even though it was not on the plan, but we did it anyway. Why? Because, we give the people what they want. That's what we do. So I never did my RTN ProQuest season stream where if anybody has any questions about sideboarding or what they should play at their RTN, feel free to throw that in chat now. If anybody has any questions, I have access to these decks. This is the local meta. What should I play? Things like that. Or if we just want to chat about a topic. While stuff is coming into chat, if it does, there are a couple of things that I wanted to kind of discuss. There's been a lot of discussion, if that's what you want to call it, on Twitter lately, revolving around Fab. Just a bunch of people just screaming from the rooftops that the game is great, and then there's another group just saying it's complete dog shit. And for the first time ever, I don't know what the fuck people are mad about. I have no clue. So if anybody wants to enlighten me on what it is these people are complaining about, I'd love to hear it. Not because I love to complain, but understand what their motivators are and what they kind of value. So can I ask about the rough up in KO? So that was an idea brought about by Aaron. And his lot. So the idea in that spot is you kind of have two options. One, you want the cards to cost 2. That is universally what you want with KO because you always want to go 2, 2, 2, right? On a double blue hand is the idea. So you have a couple options. You have the Howl card, which is a 2 for 6 that makes a Vigor token if you pitch a 6. And then you have Rough Up, which goes to a 7. So ultimately, it comes down to, in that card slot, do you value the +1 damage or the Vigor token more? Aaron made the point of the might. The might was better. And maybe that's true. I'm not really sold on which one's better. I ultimately don't think it matters because in which one's better is a lot of context, right? Because if you don't have a blue in your next hand or you're short a resource, then of course the Vigor token is the more valuable of the two. But there's a lot of times where you literally can't use the Vigor token, right? Or it can actually even kind of fuck you up a little bit, maybe if you're trying to pitch a card ahead for Blood Rush Bellow or whatever the case may be. So to kind of secure your blue. So it really requires Rough Up is the more consistent. You're always getting 1 extra value. Always. Whereas sometimes the Vigor token's worth more, sometimes it's worth nothing. So ultimately up to you. But I don't know what people are mad about. I'm very curious of what people have to say, but I'm curious. One thing that I will kind of mention, okay, there's been a lot of talk from LSS people about like stats and stuff. I've seen Brian talk about like conversion stats at RTN, and I've seen James White say that we've had, oh my god, and the Nick Butcher fucking box comment had me rolling, bro. He said my favorite stat is these are the prices. Um, does anybody know the story behind that? He said like the Japanese box was like $50 or $60, and the English boxes were 140 or something like that. Is that legit? Like I don't actually know. But if that's it, if a Japanese box MSRP is $60 while the English one is not, and it's like that much of a disparity, then like what the fuck? What the fuck's happening? The funniest part about it was it's true. Can you break it? Is that like so we're not lying. A Japanese box is literally less than half the price MSRP of an English box. Missing Azalea Ranger as a class and Marlin doesn't hit for me. I get that. I'm still going through that with Briar. Florian and Aurora just didn't scratch that itch. They came close, but it just wasn't the same because Briar kind of did both things, and you got to pick one or the other with the other two. Japan is closer to England. Salaries are like half. People have way less disposable income. Okay. So why would I not buy Japanese boxes? I get what you're saying, but I had no idea that that was legit. And if that is true, I would just buy a Japanese product. I don't give a fuck about the words. I can't. I'm from Alabama. I can't read English anyway. I got nothing to lose, everything to gain. Shipping. No, because if I'm not mistaken, all the cards are not printed in Japan. Isn't it still a split between Japan and Belgium? Is that true? I know what the picture does. That's all I need. That's what I'm saying. See, we're on the same level. That's what I'm talking about. I just assume the text half the time anyway. Don't ever read that shit. Is it legal to use Japanese cards in English formats? Why the fuck not? These are Japanese printed box. Okay, so we're saying that if a Japanese box is printed in Japan, okay. So is a Belgium box bought in Belgium $50? The opponent cannot read it if they don't know what said card does. So you can always call a judge and ask what card text is. That's never an excuse. Yeah, it's 120 plus in Belgium. So like just because you're selling it where you print it doesn't mean it's like astronaut. I know a little bit about business, okay? I am going to say this is not based on anything I know. And I could be completely out to lunch. But English MSRP listed at 144.90 and Japanese listed at 7,920 yen, which is 45. Okay. Okay, so you confirm that those are the prices. So 145 and 50, okay? Less cards in each pack. I think they confirmed that it does not have less cards in each pack. Yeah, you can call a judge to translate. So here's my theory. I think that this is marketing for that area. I think that LSS is essentially subsidizing to break into the Asian market, I think is what's happening. Once again, this is purely speculation. I could be completely talking out of my ass. But the one thing that makes it's not fucking shipping. I can tell it does not cost $100 to ship a fucking box of cards. Okay, unless it's from Canada, then yes, it probably does. So, but what I think they're doing is subsidizing the Japanese market as a way to break into because there's a ton of competition in Japan, right? And it's very competitive for TCGs. So I would imagine it would make. I mean, I can at least draw a line or conclusion that um, that they would sit there and say, "All right, we'll sell these at cost. Okay, we're not going to make a single dollar off of that." And great question, and that's because they have to run a business, right? If they sell everything at cost, then they make no money. They can't pay their employees. They can't do all of these things. Of course, all of this is hypothetical. Um, but it's so a good example of this is when you walk into a grocery store, all the things on the outer perimeter of the grocery store are or at least in the back. The bread, the milk, things like that. A lot of that stuff is sold at cost. But what they do is they make you walk past everything. Milk is always in the back, always will be. It's an item that you go in a lot for. And they want you to walk past a bunch of aisles of shit to get to the milk because it increases your odds of buying other shit that is not sold at cost, right? And so it's kind of the same idea where you have a market over here that's extremely competitive. So you basically lower the price and, you know, that's what you have to do to maintain competitiveness. It's entirely possible. English booster box have 16 to 15 cards compared to the Japanese booster. Okay, let me get caught up in chat. I might be missing something. I thought Japanese boxes were half size, like archive boxes. They both have 9. Yeah. I think for compendium, I think they are the same. For all the other stuff, you're 100% right. But for compendium, I remember seeing, I could be wrong, that they have the same number of cards. Same thing pharmaceutical companies do. Yep. Japan is the mecca of TCGs. Yep. I would love smaller packs to be more accessible. We have no limited interest. Yep. My thing is, why spend hundreds on the chance to pull my card from a set when I could just wait a few weeks, buy it on? I mean, you just cracked the code for all TCGs ever. That's what you should be doing in the first place. And every game without an anime IP attached to it is significantly less successful in Japan than it is. That's true. Japanese packs listed as cold foils are 1 in 12. English are 1 in 8. Okay. Spoiler alert: if you can buy 3 packs for the price of 1, then your actual cold foil pull rate is 1 in 4, not 1 in 12. Just throwing that out there. If a box is 50, the other box rate is 1 in 12 here, but you get 3 boxes, it becomes 1 in 4 for the same dollar. So yes, they are different, but the math would be correct if it was 50% more. If the box was 50 and 75, then the 1 in 12, 1 in 8 is mathematically balanced, if you will. But being 3 times more is you're way off. I won't be purchasing boxes of pen at all. 140 a box is just too much. Gonna get the singles I need. I really hope 140 a box doesn't become the new normal. I don't know. I think maybe it's just the fact that they're doing a bunch of reprints. They know they have a lot of gas in the set. I don't know the motivator, right? I mean, I think I heard Brian call it an antiquity set. Did Magic do something similar where they had like a set that was like, once again, I'm not a Magic player. Did they have a set where it was like, did they not fucking call it antiquities? Literally? Where it was just a bunch of fucking reprints? Like half the pack? Is that not a thing? Master sets. Okay. And it was hundreds of dollars. Okay. So maybe this is just that they're that, like, I don't know. I mean, they did say that this one was a premium set. I think it's just because the reprint. I think it's that simple. Because in the secondary market, because the fab TCG market, that the secondary market is all about playability, the set should hold its value. If it has this, we've seen like 15 reprints, like legit. Way back in the day, there was Antiquities, which reprinted 80% of the valuable cards in the game and crashed the market. Huh. Okay. So maybe them charging more for the box is the way to balance that crash. Just a thought. Also, this set is pretty gassed up. Yeah, I mean, if Shelter wasn't in a hunted box, how much would a hunted box be worth? Ask yourself that. It's basically history pack 2, honestly. If Staples in it, 140 is a lot, but how often are you going to using these cards? Yeah, I mean, but I don't know the answer to the Japan and English box delta. My best guess is that they're trying to subsidize. I guess I think they're selling at cost, maybe even at a little bit of a loss, depending on I don't know what it costs them to make a box. To help them get into that market, because they know if they do get into that market, then it'll pay dividends down the road. In simple math terms, Japanese card prices will be heavily dependent on the quantity of lack or abundance. And English singles are expected to be higher with higher sealed prices. Uh, but isn't there no lack of abundance if boxes are only $50? Okay, Saber Bloodshed is an expensive card. Okay, you got one. You got one. It created the reserve list and basically created speculative investing in TCGs. Okay. I don't know about that, but so that's my thought. I think they're just subsidizing the Japanese market. That's my opinion. As an attempt to break into said market. Of course, that could not be the reason. It could be that they have such a bad shipping rate that it literally costs $1 bajillion to ship to the US and Europe and wherever else it's going. And it cost them fucking $80 a box to do it. I don't fucking know. You would have to be very bad at negotiating shipping rates to get for that to be the case. But or maybe you're shipping a box at a time. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but like that's like super high, super high. But it's interesting. It's interesting to say the least. I'm gonna be real. My non-foils and white borders play just the same, bro. So I used to be the shiny guy, right? Like back when I had my Viscerai deck, I blinged it out, got full foils, all that stuff, cold full skull cap, cold full tunic, cold full grasp, all of it. The creepers, the works. We did it all. Okay. And then one event completely changed my perspective about that. And that was when somebody, I want to say it was a Rhinar player, got disqualified due to a curl in an Eye of Ophidia or something. Something like that happened at a calling. And I immediately just went to min rarity everything. I was like, I am scared to death of being disqualified due to a curl or something. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, just double sleeve your deck. Well, I hate that. I cannot stand shuffling a double sleeve deck. Terrible. Absolutely horrendous. And yeah, so my only option is to just get the cheapest shit. Now, I'm not a degenerate. I'm not playing whiteboarder. Okay. I have some culture, right? But I will go just non-foil on everything. No, the cold foils and the marvels have an added intimidation factor. Mind warfare. I don't know about that. I think whiteboarders do way more psychological damage, in my opinion. All right. Well, chat, we've been going for about an hour and a half. I know it's a little short, but we've done so much. We talked about internet. We talked about a tier list. We talked about our team results. How, if you're going to buy boxes, buy the Japanese ones. Next time I see you at the Jasper store, I'm going to hand you my entire whiteboarder deck, bro. That's crazy business. That's crazy business. That's so funny. Whiteboarder has to do more damage. But I appreciate everybody being here. Unfortunately, I will not be at Columbus. However, I wish anybody going the absolute best. But my son's birthday party is this weekend, so we're going to go to that instead of Columbus. However, we are looking to go to San Diego calling, so we should be there. And yeah, after that, I don't know when we got Memphis. Of course, we'll be at Memphis. It's right down the road. And we got a couple other stops. So there's a lot of like US callings that are kind of back. I think it's one a month or something like that. So looking forward to going to those. I understand that min rarity plays the same, but the bling is addicting. Oh, of course it is. I'm telling you, I blinged the shit out of my deck. But I was like, that one instance, I was like, nope, got rid of it all. I was done. Now I'm that player that will trade their foils for the non-foil versions, just 1-to-1. Keep the difference. I don't give a shit. Just want the non-foil. All right, everybody. I appreciate everybody joining me. I really do. And good luck if you have an RTN this weekend. Good luck if you're going to the calling. And I will see you